You're
Oh,
welcome.
gotcha. Yeah. And that's important too, to understand that the difference between the two too. So as well. So because some of you guys may be hearing a company and thinking that, oh, okay, they already have legal services when they have a consultant, and that's not necessarily what they have. So that's going to be a point to mention too. And Sharanda's going to know more about that, because I don't know which one is which. I know the CDO, other CDO companies, but some of these consultant companies, I don't know who they are. If I heard their name, I wouldn't know they was a consultant company. But Sharanda may know. So it may be something that goes through there that Sharanda is familiar with, that can let you know that they are consultants, not CDL legal products for them, if that makes any sense. So. All right, so I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Sharanda to do her introduction, and then we will pull up a couple of slides and discuss a few things on these slides. So people that are out here selling, marketing, you guys will understand a little bit more about what the product is offering to these companies, and what sets us apart from the competition. And again, if you've taken a certification training in the last, I don't know, year, then you've seen similar slides to this, what we're going to pull up. But again, it's about kind of doing a little bit of a deep dive and reminding people. Plus, a lot of people that join this CDL call, a lot of times they're new. They're either new to CDL, or they're new to Legal Shield, or they have not taken a CDL certification or been involved in this industry for 5 or 10 years. They may have saw it in the beginning and then went and did something else, and now they're coming back and saying, hey, what should I be doing? So this is a good reminder for them, and for those of us that go out in the market, but we forget what sets us apart. We forget some of the facts of what we do here with Legal Shield with that CDL product. So Sharanda, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you.
Sharanda Ivan here from Byron, Georgia. I've been with Legal Shield about 9.5 years now. CDLP certification training, 50K ring earner, field trainer for the company on business solutions and CDL. Emory Elite, 1,000 personal apps, over 1,000 personal apps award. Number 2 group opener last year, and field trainer for 2019 and 2021. And working in CDL space, the business solutions here, and working in that space with all the areas of cross-selling with small business as well, and all the other plans as well. And so I host the accountability call on Thursday nights for individuals who are looking for accountability and to really mastermind with other associates. And so that's my Dun & Bradstreet. So over to you, Dunbar.
If you're Dun & Bradstreet, let me check. I'm gonna check again on John. You see John in there?
No.
No, John? All right. So I'll go ahead and do my
Not
thing.
yet.
All right.
So Dunbar asked y'all to drop, so nobody else calling?
Huh?
No, I was just saying nobody else calling, nobody else running into any companies.
But yeah, if you ain't running into no companies, you probably ain't making no phone calls. That's what happens. So, you know, they say success leaves clues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. All right. So Robert Dunbar here, been with Legal Shield 13 years, been training for about 7 years, worked different areas of the company, stopped at CDL. I really enjoy the CDLP space because it's niche, and because I like to be able to offer something directly to a client that particularly they benefit from really directly. And that's what I like about the CDL membership. I also like that it's not a whole bunch of competition inside or outside Legal Shield. I am 100K ring earners, have 250K ring earners on my team, and we are certainly just here to help. I'm one of the certification trainers here with Legal Shield for CDL. And I hope you guys are all registering for this Friday's CDL that's going to be happening with Timber Mosley, with the law firm, with Zach Hargis, and Alan Roman, and Arjun Joshi. Some of you heard from him on the 4th annual, and have heard him time and time again on our call as he's spoken up on different things. So it's going to be a really great training on the 18th. So if you have not registered, get registered. You know somebody on your team or that you work with that has not taken a class because they're on Saturdays and Saturdays doesn't work out for them. Friday, November 18th. That's going to be a good time for them to register for that class. Plus, it's the last class for the year, so make sure you get yourself plugged into that. So I am going to share my screen so we can pull
It's
up.
on the calendar. The class is on Friday. It's on the calendar. So you go out to the calendar. All the information is out there. So I don't know what time it starts, 11, 12. But if you go to the calendar to register, it'll be out there for you.
Mm-hmm.
But you
Yeah.
want to be on that. It's always good to hear other what other associates are doing. And also Zach from the law firm definitely will give you some great tips along with Mr. Ray Hall when he's on. But Zach really goes into depth, like Dunbar said, he was on when Dunbar was on earlier this year, and that was a phenomenal call. So, and you'll hear from Timber and AJ as well, how they're prospecting and selling plans in this space as well.
Absolutely. So Sharanda, as I'm going through this stuff, of course, jump in, say whatever you're gonna say, you know how it is, the floor is open for you to jump in if there's something particular about any of these bullet points that you want to mention. But just guys, moving forward, again, understanding your product. We talk about sales here, selling the membership. We know about CDL as far as the plan, what it does, and of course, in the next couple of weeks, we're gonna be covering that a little bit more in depth as well. But we want to make sure that you guys aren't forgetting about the particulars, things that can come back to your mind that can remind you what it is we do in particulars about the membership and how we stand out, how we set ourselves apart from some of these other companies that also offer CDL membership, so that you will understand. Now, that comparison sheet, as a reminder, sometimes the other companies will change things in their plan and Legal Shield may not know, PPLSI may not know. So it's really not about stating what they don't do or what they do. It's really about stating what we do, right? Not saying, hey, this company doesn't, because we don't ever want to be them. We've talked about that over and over again on this call over the last 4.5 years, right? Part of sales is you don't ever talk about somebody's decision to use another company, because if you insult the other company, then you insult the person that you're talking to. So when it comes to sales, don't ever talk about what another company doesn't do. Just talk about what we do and highlight things that you already know the other company doesn't do. Because if they don't do it and we do, and we highlight that we do it, then that common sense customer is going to see the value in what we do anyway. Does that make sense, guys? Put a yes in the chat. So it's very important not to say, oh yeah, that company you have, they don't do this or they don't do that, because remember, they already may have purchased that product. And now they're saying, okay, this man, this woman, this sales agent is talking about a decision I made. So think about that the same way somebody would talk about a child that belongs to you, the way somebody would talk about somebody that you are in a relationship with or a friend of yours. You feel like, hey, that's my friend. You're talking about my friend to me, even if that person did something they shouldn't have done. So talk about my decision, you're talking about me. So we want to stick to what we're doing and why we're the best at it. That is part of being a good sales agent when you're selling anything. So for those that just didn't remember the 11th day. There's a lot of associates that don't understand that when the regular legal plan went to day of, the CDL plan did not. So the plan it starts on the 11th day. That doesn't mean that Anthony Norris can't use the membership on day 5. It just means that it's a 25% discount. So that's important to understand as well. So if I sold Anthony Norris this membership on Monday the 1st and on Friday the 5th, something happened, he could still pick up the phone and call the law firm. It's just going to be at a 25% discount if it's a inspection, violation, citation, as opposed to it being covered at no cost. Yes. So put a 2 in the chat if that makes sense, so you guys understand. Don't tell them they can't use it. Just let them know 25% discount if it's before the 11th day. And don't forget that 4-wheelers, motorcycles, and boats are covered as well with this plan. And why is that important, right? And I also put in there commercial motor vehicle, because some people don't know what CMV means. So when you hear CMV, that's the language. CMV means commercial motor vehicle. But why is this important about the 4-wheelers, the motorcycles, and boats? Because it's very important that when you're talking to a safety manager, company owner, when you're letting them know why it's important to wrap this membership around the drivers, because what they do affects the insurance rates of that company that they work for is because, again, let me find somebody, Gene or Dan or Jim or Wilma or Susan could be on vacation, right? In California, in Florida, in Texas, in Arizona, and they could be riding four-wheelers and get pulled over and get a ticket for doing something in a four-wheeler they shouldn't have been doing. And guess what's going to happen? That's going to affect the insurance of the company they drive for, even though they're not in one of their vehicles and even though they're on vacation. Because remember, if they get a violation or a citation that affects their MVR, when their MVR is pulled because that company they drive for, insurance company, is going to occasionally pull it on whatever regular standard way that they do it, how often they do it, annually or whatever, they're going to see that that person got some kind of ticket for doing something. And they don't say, oh, they weren't at work, they weren't in one of your vehicles, so it don't count against you. It's still going to affect how the insurance puts out their next premiums for them to pay for the insurance. So remember, the fact that four-wheelers, motorcycles, and boats and their regular vehicles are still covered with this membership is so very important, because you want to make sure that they understand, hey, your guys need this protection even when they're off duty. And if you have a client that have both plans, the family and the CDL membership, and that client has a CDL license, when this comes up, because it does come up, and that driver calls, right? And Jeree says, hey, look, I got pulled over the other day. And I was in my regular vehicle, right? I was doing 70 and a 60 in my BMW on a Saturday afternoon. Which law firm should I call? The CDL or the family? And then you tell that client, right? I tell Jeree, oh no, you were in your BMW, go ahead and call your regular law firm. That's not a good idea. They need to be calling their transportation attorney, because they hold a CDL. They always want a transportation attorney going to court with them because they have a CDL license, right? Put a 3 in the chat if that makes sense. It doesn't matter what they get pulled over in. They need to be talking to their transportation attorney because they have a CDL license. They always want a transportation attorney to protect them, even if they're not in a commercial vehicle when they get pulled. So that's important information to know if your client ever calls, because I have had people call me and say, oh, I had my client call the family plan because they were in their personal vehicle. You don't ever want a regular attorney, not that a regular attorney is insufficient or something, but a regular attorney that does not understand transportation law may not really be paying attention to the fact that that person has a CDL and the effect that violation citation will have on their MVR and on the insurance company that they drive for, right? So that makes a lot of sense to make sure you're covering that. The writing associate, excuse me, let me go up to the third bullet point. The CDL plan is determined by the state in which the driver signs the application. Another thing that gets tricky for particularly newer associates or associates who don't sell this a lot. Remember, this is a little bit different than our regular plan. So let me find somebody, if Yolanda happens to be lives in a licensed state like Massachusetts or some other licensed state, right? I know we only got a few now, and I don't have a Massachusetts license. Well, then I can't sell her the CDL plan while she is in the state of Massachusetts. So typically what I would do if it's an over-the-road driver is I say, call me when you get somewhere else, right? That's an unlicensed state. And then you enroll them in a plan while they're in another state. Make sure it's not another licensed state. Does that make sense? So unless you have a license in that particular state, that's what I would suggest you do. And I would also suggest that if you're talking to somebody who is in New York at the time, because that New York plan is not a good plan to enroll anybody in, make sure that if it's an over-the-road driver, that they're calling you to get the membership when they're not in the state of New York, because you really don't want to put them in that CDLP New York plan, because that plan is not as good as the regular basic plan. So for those that don't know that, even if that's not an over-the-road driver, ask them, right? Because a lot of people that are in New York, they will go other places. Now, of course, if you don't have a New Jersey license, you can't tell them to go to New Jersey, because if you can't sign them up if they go to New Jersey and you don't have a New Jersey license. But if you have a New Jersey license, wait till they get New Jersey. If you don't, then wait till they go somewhere else for any reason. I don't care if they're going somewhere on vacation. Sign them up at that point, because that New York CDL plan is not the best plan for them to have. And remember, it doesn't matter what they get pulled over at. If they buy the plan from you and they buy it in another state, right? They live in New York, but they buy the plan in another state. They can get pulled over in New York all day long as they don't have the New York plan. The New York plan rules don't apply to that driver, right? So, Sharanda, anything you want to add in there before I move on?
No, those are some good points. I think maybe we need to address, because I think, and I hate to say this, but I think just, a lot of people just don't understand the plan, and you're doing a good job about going over it. Just from some of the questions, it's normally the same people. So Dan Nix asks, what about spouse independence? So Dan, what do you mean, what about spouse independence?
When they get a ticket.
Well, who's covered on the CDLP plan, Dan?
Well, the driver and the spouse,
Okay,
assuming they have both the personal and
no,
commercial.
that's not how that goes. So the spouse is covered on the CDLP plan, whether they have a commercial license or not. So if they only got a CDLP plan from you, they will call the transportation law firm, because that's the plan that they got. The spouse is covered under that plan. Dependents aren't covered on the CDLP plan.
Right.
So they wouldn't call the transportation law firm. It's very important that we know the benefits here, before we go out into the market. So dependents aren't on the CDLP plan, but spouses are. And they don't have to have a combo to get the CDLP plan. They don't have to have a legal. So the spouse is still covered, even if they got the CDLP plan only. And so therefore the spouse would call the transportation law firm still to help with that moving violation. That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay.
That's another reason why it's important to sell the family plan as well, because if you sell basic CDL and you cover in the husband and the wife, or the wife and the husband, or significant other, however they're set up in the household, what happens when they have teenage drivers? What happens when they have a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-old that drives as well? If you don't market the family plan to that man or woman who drives, then the dependents aren't covered if they get any kind of moving violations themselves. So that's another reason for you to market that plan. And for those that's thinking in the back of their mind, well, how about I just offer the super and that solves that problem? Well, when we get to that point, which is not going to be today, we'll tell you why we don't suggest offering the super except under certain circumstances. So we are going to get to that. We're not going to talk about the super today, but we are going to be talking about it in the next few weeks, and you'll see why we don't really promote it. Can you sell it? The answer is yes, but it's not a good plan to market unless there's certain things happening with that driver, where you would offer the super as opposed to the basic CDL and then the family plan, the most current family plan that we offer. So if you're thinking that, then, if you can unthink it, if that makes any sense. So the writing associate must be licensed in a particular state. So that's just, again, what I said about New Jersey. If you are going to market the CDL plan to a driver who is in a licensed state, you must have a license to do that. Now, understand, if it's group, if you're doing group, and you're going to do a split with somebody, as long as the person that you're doing a split with is licensed in that state, you don't need to have a license, right? Just so you guys understand. So let's say, for instance, me and George, I'm going to open up a group, and it happens to be in a licensed state that George has a license in, right? If George has a license in that state and I open up a group and I make him 50-50 with me, then he can write the applications for the people that are in the licensed state, and we'll still both get credit for those applications as long as he is the one that puts those applications in. Does that make sense? So that is a little bit of a workaround on license situations. Yolanda?
I would like to know, how is it that we could if we have somebody in New York or New Jersey that we need a license to sell there, or any other state that needs a license, how could we get licensed? How could we find a list of where we are not licensed at, or you need a special license for? How could we find that information out?
It's something called States at a Glance. And I will let Sharanda answer whether that's, I don't know where that's at in Legal Shield Resources today. I'm sure it's back there somewhere, but there's something called States at a Glance, and it will let you know what plans can be sold in what state and what state you are required to have a license in.
Right, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
Yeah. And I believe it's on Legal Shield Resources. I would imagine it's still there. So I see George shaking his head. Yeah, so you can grab it there. And that's something that I would keep, making sure you have the most current one, and make sure you have that somewhere in your office so that you don't go offering a plan that can't be sold in a specific state. Because again, the super is available. We don't encourage you to sell it unless it's a particular situation, but also something else with that super is not available in every state. So you may be thinking you're going to sell that super to a client because they fit a certain circumstance, but it may not be available in the state that driver is currently going through when you're trying to sell that plan, or the state that they live in. So you wouldn't be able to sell it. So States at a Glance is how you do that. So good question, Ilana, because I'm sure it's quite a few other people who don't know that document exists, to make sure you understand legally what you should and shouldn't be doing. The driver does not have to have a CDL, which is normally a big thing that comes up, not only in the certification trainings, but on the Facebook page. Like, a person does not have to have a CDL to buy the CDL plan. So everybody really needs to be 100% clear on that, because they can be driving commercially and not have a CDL license, right? So that could be somebody who drives an HVAC truck to go do HVAC things to a house, right? They work for a company, and that company has 5 or 6 vehicles where the driver jumps in that vehicle to go do a service call for HVAC units. That person is technically driving commercially, so they could use the plan. Is that a target that I go after? No. Is that a good target? Could be for you. It's not low-hanging fruit for me, but they do need a plan. And a lot of times, a person driving that truck that has the equipment to do that service call, that person does not have a CDL license. Sometimes you will see daycares who have daycare vans, right? Those daycare vans that they're driving to pick up kids or take the kids on field trips, a lot of times those drivers won't have a CDL license, but they're still driving commercially because they're driving a van, or what we like to call a church van, but it's really a passenger van. And they're driving it on behalf of that daycare to pick up, drop off, do whatever kind of errands they're running for that daycare. That person is driving commercially, they could use the plan, but that driver driving that vehicle may not have a CDL license, but you can still sell them that plan. So remember, having a CDL license is not a requirement to buy the plan. And then, of course, we're available in 48 contiguous states. So anything else on that, Sharanda? Anything you want to talk about?
No, you got it. You got it down pat.
All right, good stuff. So let's talk a little bit about what sets us apart here. Just so, again, when you guys are out there talking to companies, you can highlight some of these things that we do. So if you're talking to a company and that company is asking about, how, because I know a lot of people will say, hey, well, do we have any statistics on how well the law firm fights these tickets for these companies and all of those kind of things? If you don't have anybody that has anything like that, if you don't have an associate that's willing to give you some testimonials, we've got one testimonial sheet, and it's a little old, but it doesn't really matter, because it doesn't matter how old the inspection of citation or violation is, but we do have one testimonial sheet that's on the Facebook page. But let's say you didn't have one at all. It's important to be able to bring up the fact that driver satisfaction surveys are sent out, right? So if Wilma is driving, gets a citation, violation, inspection, whatever, she calls the law firm deals with that for her. She will get an email the same way if any of you all use the membership. You get that email that says they want your feedback. So if you've ever called the law firm, put a 4 in the chat. If you've called the law firm, use the law firm, and a few days later, you got that email that says, hey, we would like to have your feedback. they send the same thing to our CDL drivers, and then they get feedback. So we're checking to see whether or not their experience with the law firm was a good experience, right? Which is a good practice for customer service. There's also no limit on the number of tickets represented in court. Why is this important? Because there are other CDL companies, other CDL legal companies that will say, we will fight your citations, violations, and inspections, right? No limit. Or they won't say that there's a limit or not a limit. They'll just say we fight them as well, right? Same way Legal Shield or PPLSI does. But after they've gotten more than a few, they start to charge, right? So it's no longer free after they've gotten more than, I think, 3 or 4, right? And I could be wrong on that number. And Sharanda, jump in with it if you feel like, because I know you deal with that a little bit more, so you may know that direct number. But I know that there's other companies that after you've gotten a certain amount of citations, violations, or inspections, they will start to charge to go to court to represent them. So it's important for you to say when you're talking to a company, right? Put this in your notes to just say these kind of things, because again, I don't have to say another company doesn't. All I have to do is say that we do, right? Just understand that it don't matter how many citation violations or inspections your company gets or your drivers get, your vehicles get, we will fight those, represent you in court, and it still won't be cause no limit, right? We're not going to charge you because you got too many. And then there's no up charges, meaning if a driver was to get 0 to 7, 0 to 10, 0 to 13, or whatever on speeding over the speed limit, and it was considered not a serious violation versus a serious violation, there's not going to be a ticket upcharge. So we're not going to say, guess what? This violation is worse than another violation, so we're going to charge you now for this ticket unless it's criminal, right? So we all know that if it's a criminal offense, there's going to be a 25% discount. Yes or yes, put a 5 in the chat if you know that. We're not talking about the fact that it's criminal. We're talking about that it's just a heavy citation or violation. Some companies will say, you got a violation, but this is a pretty big violation, so we're going to charge you. We're not going to do that one at no cost. We don't do that. So it's important to understand that there's no ticket up charges. That's what that means by ticket up charge. And then our drivers call transportation law firms, which is very important because they're not calling a service company. Why? Because there are other companies that do what? You pick up the phone and you call and you get George on the line, and George is saying, hey, we're going to see if we can find you an attorney in the jurisdiction where that happened at. And sometimes they can't even find one in that jurisdiction, which means that sometimes they tell you that they just can't find one. I've had clients that have had other products that said they simply told them, we can't fight that because we can't find anybody out there to fight it. And we can't find anybody willing to go there to fight. And even if a company is going to find somebody to go there, the challenge is, right, we want an attorney who knows the judge. We want an attorney that knows that jurisdiction, that's used to being in that courtroom and knows how things work in that jurisdiction. If we have an attorney that's there doing that, then we know there's going to be a better outcome. So you want your clients to have a company where it's a transportation law firm and that we're all over and we have contracts. That's what we offer, and some other companies they're not. You're basically just calling. I know we have a 1-800 number too, but our 1-800 number is going to the provider law firm. Their 1-800 number is going to Sharanda, so to speak, right? It's going to Sharanda. Sharanda's like, let me see what I can do in finding you an attorney to fight this situation. So it's much more important to know that they're calling their transportation law firm. And to the best of our knowledge, only PPLSI provides 100% attorney fee coverage for tragic accidents versus there's companies that say we provide up to, be very careful with up to 25%. Up to 25% means I can offer you 1%. That's what that means, right? So up to 25% versus we do 100% of attorney fee coverage. And also make sure that you understand that that driver was driving legally, and also understand that it's attorney fee coverage. So please don't say to companies we do 100% protection on tragic accident, because we don't. If that happens to be a hazmat situation and there's all kinds of fees and fines, and because the truck flipped over and it was hazmat and whatever other legal situations that may be happening, we're not dealing with that. All Legal Shield is paying for is the hours provided by the attorney to defend them for the tragic accident. That is what we're paying for. That's all we're paying for. So that's where that's at. Shranda,
No, I'm good.
you good?
Mhm.
All right. I'm gonna let you do the last slide. So Shranda, you can do that one.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know it was last.
Yeah, I know you didn't know it was the last slide.
Oh, okay. So we use local lawyers to represent our clientele in the court. So that means so unlike our legal plan, whereas that's in the state that we live in. So we normally have a provider law firm in each state. So I'm in Georgia, but I'm in Middle Georgia. So I'm about an hour south of Atlanta. So our state attorney law firm is in downtown Atlanta. So for the legal plan. So for our CDL plan, we call into Tulsa, to our law firm there, the transportation law firm there. And the client is referred out to wherever the ticket was received, the citation was received. So if they were in Georgia, they will get an attorney that's in Georgia, in the area in which they got the citation, to help them with that versus somebody out of Tulsa. So that's why it's very important too, that when you get a client, and I just learned this over the years, that when you get a client and they've already gotten a ticket and they need the law firm, it's best to ask them when is their court date. Because we have to have a minimum, the law firm has to have a minimum of anywhere from 3 to 5 business days. That's not weekends, holidays, and that's a minimum. So if they don't have a minimum of that, it's normally when they call into the law firm, they're going to ask them, did they ask for an extension? So with my clients, I normally have them to go ahead and ask the courts for an extension if they can get that. So now they can have time to be able to use the law firm on this matter if they are able to get an extension. But if they can't get an extension and they have a court date, say 4 days from now, the law firm is not going to be able to find them an attorney to represent them in that shorter period of time. And you have to know that, because that's what the plan says. They have to have a minimum of 3 to 5 business days. So remember that. And so the membership portability, that means if the member attains their membership in a group enrollment environment, they can take the membership with them if they leave the company or terminate it at the same price. So what that means is that if the driver calls you, or you just happen to see the driver in pre-cancel and you follow up with them, you're able to get them transferred to self-pay or bank draft, where they pay for it themselves with the same pricing. So that's huge. That's a big deal for, especially from, leaving a company, they're able to still get that same rate that they had. And we offer additional comprehensive legal and identity theft plans. So even if you just sell the CDLP plan, that's okay. We're talking to commercial drivers. We know that they are considered full coverage, meaning on the personal and their license, if we sell the combos, and the identity theft coverage, because we know that their license, right, is how they earn their living. And if they get compromised, that could be really bad for them. But if you don't feel that you are comfortable enough cross-selling or selling that, all those plans at one time, it's definitely okay. You meet the client where they are, and you serve and cater to that client as best possible. Just know you can always go back and try to upsell them and add those services, those benefits, because they need them. They may not see that they need them at that time. And we do cover their spouse on the CDL plan, meaning if they don't get a legal plan, they still have coverage on moving traffic violations. Whatever that plan covers for the member, it'll also cover for the spouse as well without them having to have that endorsement on their license. So that's that.
I'm going to share the, let me see, do I have it up here? Let me see, let me check.
And Yolanda was asking about the states that, well, she was asking about licensing. I mean, you know, I put in the chat that she, you know, she could call corporate because we have a licensing department. And I just offer those things because as independent associates, we have to know where our help comes from. We have what, over 700, 800 people over in Ada there to assist us. So it is in your back office, all the resources that we talk about, but as independent associates, we have to be kind of proactive and learn our business ourselves, and just know corporate is always there to support you. Because even when you go in your back office and try to get your licensing, you still might not understand the process, even though they have it out there, because they give you step by step to do it. But it can be a little intimidating when you go out to that state's website, because it's talking about different types of insurance and things like that. So I always know that corporate is there to assist you if you want that assistance, because we have those departments.
Good stuff, good stuff. So, Sharanda, do you want to talk about this? Look, I think you got a little bit more, I think you got a lot of bit more.
Well, the thing about this is it was impressive to me when we first got it. And but I don't really, personally, me, I don't really use it a lot. I've had some associates where they have, when I'm field training them, the prospect may have had some type of plan before, whether it was TVC or one of the other plans. And most of the time it has been TVC. And so that company, you know, even though they may not use TVC, TVC has other benefits that is attractive to carriers and drivers. They have things that they use versus using the legal portion of the coverage. So, and I always try to share with associates that, I mean, we have to think about ourselves. Like, I use my husband right now. So our cable company is Cox. So he'd rather have Cox versus YouTube TV because he's always at Cox, right? So people are used to what they are used to. And, you know, the old saying, if it's not broke, why fix it? So they feel like they've been paying for it, why change, right? And so it's not that we're going into the company or trying to say, well, we always say, well, that's why I'm calling, because your numbers are still high. But people like what they like, right? Because that's the first person who shared this type of information with them. And so even though they may not have used TVC, they've always had it, right? So so we've had to share this comparison to those individuals who really realize that their numbers are really getting bad, you know, or worse. And the associate is continuing to follow up. And so now their ears are open to, maybe I do need to look at what you're offering, but tell me what's the difference? What separates you from them? And so, so Dunbar, if you can go up, and so we can stay right here right now. So when you see that 4 right there, a lot of people, when you look at it, you say, well, everybody doing the same thing. Well, they are, until you read what they call the fine print, which is those 4s and 5s. And so now you go down to the bottom here and you look for those numbers to give you the explanation. So a 4 means that, yeah, they help with moving violations and points, moving and points violation. TVC does that just like we do. But TVC has a 4. We say to the power 4. So what that means is a $25 fee. And you don't see the P, but that says $25 fee per violation. That's what that means. So they charge $25 per violation for that member, for any moving points and violations. So if they had to stop, because sometimes we see their inspections, they get stopped. It's like a rap sheet, right? It's about 10 violations. Well, that's 10 times 25. So did y'all know that? Did y'all know how to read that? Number, tell them to drop a number. What you think?
Drop a number, drop a 6 in the chat if you did not know that.
Okay.
If you did not know that, drop a 6 in the chat, because that's important. That's definitely important to understand. Yeah, I see that number. I see that number jumping.
But that's the difference. But like Dunbar said earlier, is that we shouldn't go in focusing using this is we do this, they don't, we do this and they don't do that, and this, that, or the third. We definitely should focus on, and again, this is what I learned in the field, just definitely learn what we offer versus trying to figure out what they offer, because it does come across because they've already made the decision to have whatever they have. Now you're making them feel some type of way versus trying to say, well, this is what we offer. And, because I got to the place to say, well, I can't really talk on that because I don't offer that. But this is what we offer and this is what we can do. And, it just comes across better. And as you look at the other companies, I think some people had, Anthony, somebody had driver's legal. I think in the field I've had Open Road, because a couple of these offer employee benefits too, just like we do. So I've ran into those, but you see that this here says 5. That means $100 fee per violation is what that company. But see, look at the price though. Your prospect may say, oh, I just paid $13.50. That's your base pay, buddy. Because if you got one violation, you paying $100. So you really paying $100 and 13 cents, $113.50 a month. If you just got one violation, or whatever.
And for those that's hear what Sharonda's saying and they're thinking, well, they still might want to take that risk. You probably need to pull a couple of safety scores and look at how many violations some of these 5 guys get when they get pulled over. Sharanda said that a little while ago. A lot of times they ain't getting one.
They get a rap sheet.
Yeah.
It's long. Some of them, it's long, but just say you're on an average, 4. Every now and then you get, 1. Normally that 1 is a 15 over, but that's a serious violation. But that's a lot though, $100 per violation, that's a lot. And in my conversation, I would, not that I'm comparing, I would just ask, hey, George, hey, Anthony, you got driver's legal? Oh, okay, great. You see the value of protecting your license. That's great. Have you ever used them? You have. So what was that experience like? And if you can't explain it to me, you probably didn't use it. But if you say, oh, I ain't have to pay nothing, really. Last time I looked at, they were charging $100 per violation. Not that I'm knocking them, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to see when you use them. Because the information I have is that they normally charge $100 per violation. Did it work like that for you? You know, a lot of times it's just the questions. Tell me how that worked for you. So when you use them, what do you do? How does it work? Do you call into a law firm? Do you call into a law firm in your state? How does that plan work? And most of the time, if they've used it, they'll educate you. Because I saw, I think Vanessa said somebody told her they use OIDA. Because when I'm field training, I ask people say, well, they say they got such and such. What is that? Google it. Or ask them. Right? A lot of times, if you just ask them, they'll tell you about it. And especially come TVC, you say, well, how you use TVC? Oh, I just normally use it because they got a fuel card. I save on my fuel. They've never used it for the violations. They just use it for their fuel card. But if they actually got this stuff, let them explain to you how they're using it. A lot of times they can't. And then now you can talk about our services and what we do.
So,
wait a minute, Dunbar. I just got, so Dan, Nick, so you on this, I mean, like, this what we doing?
what, I didn't see the question. I can't see the question.
He just said, is there a place to see all the different comparisons?
Yeah, but where is that?
This sheet?
Everything is in Legal Shield, in LS Engage.
Yes.
Everything is in LS Engage, guys. Everything.
But not only that, I put a link in the chat. I put this PDF in the chat.
But how many people on here gets your weekly business solutions newsletter on Monday evenings? In the chat, put a yes if you received that this evening.
See, is that number going up? It's going up.
Yes. Have you checked your email today?
That's gonna be another round of yes and no's.
That's what I'm saying. As business owners, guys, we have to pay attention to detail. So I will try to post. It's on my computer. So Legal Shield, if you went to a business solutions training, they will send you an email, a business solutions email, just like they do the networking side. And they have all the links, like when they update them. I wish I could open my email. And it's everything you need in there, Dan, is there. But it's in your email.
Okay.
They send it to you. If you haven't received it, Dunbar, is it possible that I can share my screen?
I'm gonna go ahead and stop my share right now. Hold on, let me see. And you should be able to share because you're co-host.
Can y'all see my screen?
Yep, I see it.
Yes. Yes, we see it.
So at the top, it'll tell you what your numbers are from year to date, from last year to now. And this is the newsletter. It's phenomenal. Anything you want to know on the solution side. It tells you everything. All the announcements, when things are happening. Y'all can register for that for free right there. The regional events that's coming up in January. new flyers that's out. You can download them right there. Check this out. All that. Everything you want to know about solutions come out every Monday afternoon about 6 o'clock my time. Okay. For those people that don't know how to set up things, how to set up your Legal Shield Engage, how to register for solutions event, they have a class for that. Did y'all know that? Certification training, free certification trainings for new associates. Important reminders, the expo. But check out this, on-demand webinars. There's the link right there. Incentives, recognition, spotlight, leaderboards. Look at here, all the resources you don't even gotta go to LS Engage. Look at God. I mean, like, for real. Everything, general business stuff. They tell you if it's updated. The legal plan only, ID Shield only. I mean, like you can't ask for anything. They go CDL, everything right here. Compensation plan, it updated some with the pricing because of Emory Leak that they did that a few months ago. So they don't have a comparison there, but I'm sure it's somewhere in here. But it's in Legal Shield. Yes, Yolanda.
Find out what part of Legal Shield is this in again?
This in your email.
I didn't get this in my email, and this is something that I need. This is friendly. I could get to everything. I haven't seen.
Well, they have let me see, Dunbar. Let me see, can I get to my let me see, can I get to my
While Sharanda is going to where she's going to, for those who took the 3 weeks of email organization, email bankruptcy classes I did, they were free. So if somebody said, I didn't charge nobody for it, it was free, 3 weeks, 90 minutes a week. Guess what you can do? When this email comes in, you can put this in the folder for Legal Shield newsletters, and every week it'll come in and go directly into your folder, because you can do it like a filter. And now all you got to do is whenever it's convenient for you to go to that folder to grab it, all you got to do is go grab it. So whenever it comes in, you may not be available. You may be at your 9 to 5, you might be making calls, whatever you're doing. When that email comes in, it's going to go directly into your Legal Shield newsletter folder. And all you have to do at that time is whenever you're ready to look at it, just go to that folder in your email, click it, and it's going to be the most current one in there. And actually, they'll all be in there, but the most current one will be at the top. So there it is. You can have it come right into that folder directly so that you won't miss it. And now you've got that email newsletter because that's something that's important for you.
It's a link for it. I have to put it, I guess, in the Facebook page, but it's a link for it to get the link, to get the newsletter.
Sharon, I posted it. I think this is a link here.
Okay, go ahead, Gene. Yeah, Gene said he posted it. Good stuff, because
Thank you,
yeah,
Gene. And the reason why they have that link, guys, is because Legal Shield doesn't want to be spamming you and sending you a bunch of stuff because they know everybody's not business solutions. So if you're a network marketer and you don't do business solutions, Legal Shield doesn't want to take it upon itself, or PPLSI, and send you business solutions newsletters every week when you're not doing business solutions. So you have to opt into that, which is what that link is probably going to be, that Gene is going to be dropping.
Vanessa, yours has that. I promise you, if you look at the bottom, it says entire message. And when you open that entire message up, you'll see all those different links. You're just not opening the entire email. Because I had to click entire message And then that's when you saw the rest of the email.
And that's a typical thing too. And I know some of y'all may be thinking that this is off topic, but it's not, because it's business. It's not off topic because you can't run a business if you don't have the proper information. So I'm an email marketer, so I know exactly how that works on their side. Because people look at my emails all the time and they call me. People email me and ask me, they reply to an email I sent. So I send Sharanda an email and say, right? Sharanda emails me back from that email and says, hey, Dunbar, can you send me ... And then I email Sharanda back and say, Sharanda, the email that I sent you had that information in it. But
There
she
you go,
didn't
right
look because
See?
she didn't scroll the whole email, because we are all in a hurry because we all got a lot to do. I get it. We all busy. We all have life and business and family and all this other stuff going on. But it's imperative that's why it's important to only be looking at emails that are important to you so that you can look at them entirely. So if there's an email, scroll through the email, because they may put the most important things at the top, but there's still important things in the bottom of that email. So you can't look at what's there when you open it and don't scroll down, because you're missing a lot of stuff because you're in a hurry. So just keep in mind when you open up the email, scroll through it, see if there's any hyperlinks that you need to click on that's going to take you somewhere else. Because again, this is your business we're talking about, and there's information. And if you end up looking for that same information somewhere a week later, and you spending, you guys know, 20 minutes looking for something that got emailed to you that you just didn't look at the whole email. So you think you're saving time by not looking at the whole email, but you end up losing 20 or 30 minutes somewhere else, trying to find something that was sent to you that you just didn't thoroughly look at. So hopefully for everybody, I'm not taking a shot at anybody. I'm just telling you, you're a business owner. And when an email is sent to you, we can only put so much on the first page. The rest of it's got to be below that. And you got to look at it so that you know it's there, so that you don't waste your time looking for something that was right in your face that you just actually didn't look at. So just
Yolanda, you got that? You got the link?
Yes.
Okay.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So there was some more. Let me see. Let me drop this. Pull this up real quick. There was a couple of more things here. I'm not going to go through them because now that Sharanda did that, y'all know how to look at it yourselves at this point. But when you look at this comparison sheet, remember on the second sheet, same thing. It's showing the company still in more things, right? Load spillage, log book, no medical placard or no medical card. No motor carrier authority. More violations, citations, and inspection-orientated things here that is letting you know that our plan covers them at no additional cost. So do some of the other ones, U.S. Legal, CDL Defender. This is a company that I deal with all the time because they are based out of Jacksonville. This company's headquarters is in Jacksonville, where I'm at. TVC, Drivers Legal, Open Road Drivers Plan, American Truck. You see these numbers, like Sharanda mentioned, they all means that there's a supplemental charge attached down here. See that? See those 8s? See this company? They got 8s for every one of these things. So all these things that we're doing at no cost for American Truckers Legal, they got an 8 by it. They're charging $100 paid to the lawyer for a flat fee per violation. So when you're having a conversation, it's not about, again, guys, it's all about your language. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by that, so that you don't present it the wrong way or not present it at all because you think you're going to say it wrong. So if I'm talking to Gene, and Gene is owner of a company or safety director, and that Gene says that they have any plan that charges, right? American Truckers Legal or Open Road or Drivers Legal or TVC. And I say, so let me ask you a question, Gene. What your purpose of having a plan like that? What really are you looking for? What are you looking to get out of the plan? Well, I'd rather if my drivers get a violation, it's a flat fee, blah, 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 right? They go into that spiel. Now I'm going to come back and say, well, I'm glad that you said that because that is important. So just understand, let's look at the math on all of that. If you have this plan, whatever plan they have, it may cost you less month to month for each driver to have it, But as those violations rack up, you're paying a flat fee per violation, when with us, there's no cost. See, you got fixed costs with us. That means that if you got 30 drivers and y'all happen to be paying for 30 drivers, then we know it's 30 times 30. We know that that's all the cost is going to be. With this other plan, you know that there's a fixed cost of 1350 times 20 drivers. But what you don't know is how many violations they're going to get during that inspection. So it's really not as fixed. And I want to make sure you can control your budget better, because that's helpful to you, right? So when I'm saying that to them, I'm letting them know, but I need to first ask, because it could be what Sharanda said. What if they don't care about that? What if they're only doing it because they want the fuel card? Well, then that whole spill is not going to help if they're doing it for a fuel card. That's why, like Sharanda says all the time, ask questions. Don't just present, ask questions. Because if you ask questions and now you know, now you can feel comfortable saying, this is why working with us would be better for your budget, right? Is it okay? And sometimes it's better to ask that question. Hey, Gene, is it okay if I show you where you could save more month to month by using our services? Gene says, no, that's okay. How can we save? Well, right now you're paying $13.50 times 20. So on a month-to-month basis, you may feel like it's less, but on average, how many violations are you guys getting monthly? Now I know, because I already put the safety score, but I'll let Gene tell me. Gene says, well, we probably get about 10 violations a month. Well, that's $1,000 on top of. So if you're working with us, that $1,000 won't exist anymore. You're just paying the 30 times 30, right? Or 30 times 20. Now Gene sees the value in that cost and says, you know what? It is better month by month to have y'all's plan. So tell me a little bit more about what your plan does. So you have to ask questions and not slap them with the information, but hand it to them. Let them know that it makes more sense. Right, and you do that by asking questions and kind of laying the foundation, instead of just saying, oh, no, you get beat using those. You can't use words like that, because all you do is you cause a conflictual situation, if that makes sense. So hopefully that was helpful, guys. It's 9:45. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Let me see. All right. So and of course, obviously, y'all can tell what we're doing here is we're trying to do a little bit more in depth, because when you go to the certification training, right, we're flying through information in 5 hours and we're reading the bullet points off the thing. And sometimes we don't always understand everything in total. Plus, later on, right, when you take the certification and then you go out and you make some sales, you make some calls, you run into some truck drivers, hearing this information again, you're like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense now. Because now I spoke to somebody and I did hear about one of these other companies. I do know now that we have a comparison chart, because there's a lot to take in on, just on round one. But we want you guys to really understand what it is that you have, what you can do with it, and how to really properly sell this product, which is why we call this a sales motivation training zone, as opposed to, just hearing the information. How do you apply it? How do you apply this comparison chart? What do you do when somebody already has another company, but our services are better, right? Do you just dump our service on top of their head and say, hey, stupid, this is better? Or do you ask them some questions and then, provide a leeway to be able to go in there and offer it at a better price and give them better coverage and walk away and say, hey, I helped them make a decision to put themselves in a better position as a company. I'm a business owner. I've been one for 18 years. If somebody can tell me I can get the same service that I've been paying for 10 years for less and get better coverage, I'm kind of interested in hearing that. But if you call me stupid for having it, I'm not interested in hearing that. Because now I'm more concerned about the fact that you called me stupid. So just make sure that when you're talking to these business owners, they don't know. They don't know what we know. What we know is that we have a better product. They haven't done the research because they're running their business and we running ours. So we've got to remember that when we talk to them. Fair? All right, good stuff. So we got all the questions answered. We good on that, Sharanda?
Look like it. Yeah.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump off here. So remember, guys, on Friday, we got another CDLP certification training, the last one for the year. So go ahead and get plugged into that if you still feel like you need to get some information here moving forward. And then we'll see you guys again next Monday. Blitz is tomorrow. The expo is coming up, right? Sharon, I saw an email about the expo.
The expo, we just had an expo.
So that must be the email I saw there. I know I saw Business Solutions Expo. I know I saw the email.
It was in the newsletter though, but yeah, we just had an expo.
And then Thursday, Sharonda Ivory has her accountability call, and a lot of you guys are on that already. But if you're not on that and you're serious about doing this deal, then get on that call as well on Thursday. So you guys have another fantastic rest of your week. We look forward to talking to you guys on Thursday, seeing you guys on the Blitz tomorrow, certification training on Friday, and then seeing you guys back here again on Monday. So you guys enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thanks
Good
so
night.
much, trainers.
Thank you.
Great
Good night,
week,
all.
everyone.
Good night.
Thank you
Good
very
night,
much.
everybody.
Thank you. Good night. Good stuff.
All as usual.
Night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Peace, y'all.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Welcome. You're welcome.